It's the Real News Network. I'm Sharmini Pires coming to you from Baltimore. On Monday, the African National Congress, the ANC of South Africa, threw out scandal-ridden Jacob Zuma and elected yet another controversial member of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa, as its party president. This virtually guarantees that he will be the party's nominee to succeed President Jacob Zuma in the next general election to be held in 2019. He faces many challenges, including South Africa's economic troubles and corruption scandals that have involved the ANC. Joining me now to analyze Ramaphosa's rise to power is Glenn Ford. Glenn is the editor of the Black Agenda Report and author of the book The Big Lie. Glenn, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start with what we know about Cyril Ramaphosa thus far.
Well, we know that he's a very rich man, one of the 14 or 15 richest men in South Africa, which is a big way to climb for a guy who was a lawyer and a former labor leader, a leader of the mine workers union. But Ramaphosa was one of the beneficiaries of the Black economic empowerment policies that the post-apartheid African National Congress government put into operation. And those policies were designed to create Black millionaires like Cyril Ramaphosa and his colleagues. Ramaphosa was the number 2 man in the ANC. He defeated in this runoff, he defeated a former wife of Jacob Zuma, who was also a former commissioner with the African Union. Jacob Zuma was once a favorite as well of multinational capital, but he fell out of favor, and the word that hangs over his head is capture. He's been accused by folks from all sectors of South African society of allowing the 3 Gupta brothers. Those are Indian brothers born in India, raised in South Africa, who are very wealthy. And the scandal that enveloped Zuma was that he had basically handed over the South African government to them. So capture became the hottest word in the South African vocabulary. But Gupta threw that word right back at his critics. He charged that they had been captured, and by they he meant people around Ramaphosa, that they had been captured by multinational capital, by foreigners who wanted to claim control over South Africa's economy. But the big word, of course, that hangs over Ramaphosa's head is Marikana, and that's the 2012 massacre of 34 striking mine workers that Ramaphosa is widely believed to have given the green light to. It must be noted that those were the same mine workers that he used to represent as a union leader. And it is really doubtful that the word Marikana will not dog him just as the word capture has dogged Zuma.
Now, let's take a step back. Glenn, I think in terms of the ANC, it has such a dominant effect and it's such a dominant force in South Africa that people cannot imagine South Africa without the ANC. And if you step back and look at the history of South Africa, people not only in South Africa, but all over the world recognizes ANC for its, freedom struggle, for liberating African South Africans from their plight under the apartheid. And all of that, it was, of course, great, and we supported that effort. What has happened to the ANC since?
Well, as you said, almost all Black political activity occurred within the ANC. The ANC was the home of Black political activity. Everyone spoke the common language of the ANC, which, by the way, was a language of socialism. So South Africa is a really kind of unique country in which everybody speaks socialism, but there is no socialism. And so socialism is always on the agenda, but never within reach.
And of course, you know, with Zimbabwe and the leadership crisis that took place there most recently, Africa is poised to really embrace some progressive leadership. At least its people living there deserves it. What's happening in the South African context? Is there a rising political force that can stand up to the ANC from the left?
Well, South Africans will tell you that they are the most revolutionary, or at least protest-minded people in the world. The rate of protest, and that includes strikes and community-organized protests demanding services, is at the highest level of any country in the world. And so who is the left? Who is challenging the ANC? Well, we have two main forces, I believe. One on the electoral front is the economic freedom fighters. They're an outgrowth of the ANC's youth wing, a portion of which broke off and has engaged in electoral competition with the ANC. They have scored notable successes in lots of urban areas. They picked up about, I believe, 8% of the vote in parliamentary elections, and have a very prominent profile politically in the townships and everywhere. The other focus of left opposition to the ANC is centered within NUMSA. That's the largest trade union in South Africa, the Metal Workers Union, and their leader, Urban Jim. He and comrades in the labor movement have also set up, created an alternative labor federation in competition with the COSATU, the South African Labor Federation that's affiliated with the ANC. And Urban Jim and his comrades' goal is to create a genuine workers' socialist party, and you'll have to do it rather quickly in order to compete in these elections that are set for 2019.
All right, Glenn, I thank you so much for joining us today. There's so much more to discuss in the South African context, but I'll leave you for now, and we'll take it up another time, because these emerging forces, whether it's the EFF or the NUMSA's party, United Front, that they're about to launch, are certainly alternatives to the ANC. It's a matter of whether they can gain the momentum necessary to actually sideline ANC at this time. So I thank you again for joining us.
Thank you. The one thing we do know is that all sides will be seeking that same common language of socialism. And that's what's unique about South Africa today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us.